What's the secret to 29 years of marriage?
21 years.
Oh, 21.
I'll tell you when I get to 29. What's the secret?
Yeah.
Forgiveness.
People don't stick around for marriage like they used to.
No, I wrote a line in a song that I never released. It said, the world writes it down in pencil, but we wrote it down in pen. They say when life gets hard, pack up your heart and start again. But it's that idea of like, is this agreement in pencil or is it in pen? You know, like, and I think about, that's not a very good song. I'm glad I never released it, but I thought it was sweet at the time. Like, you know, like we wrote it down in pen, like we got ink, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I forget your question.
Forgiveness?
21 years.
You think forgiveness?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like when you hold grudges, we tend to hold grudges against the people that we're closest to. And I feel like I'm learning the fastest you can get to, if forgiveness is the finish line, like try to be the first one to get there.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's a good song.
Yeah, there you go. Like,
that's a great line.
There you go. Like asking for forgiveness or
getting there first.
Or choosing to forgive the other person, you know, in offenses big and small. And I know that's a lot easier said than done. Somebody listening to this is probably like, you have no idea what he's done to me or what she's done to me. It's like, you know, but when we talk about forgiveness, a lot of times it's a lot less about the other person and more about the work that needs to be done in our hearts, right? So, and I mean, my wife is my best friend. I met her. It's funny, as I was driving here to your studio today, I passed by the location where I met her.
Where'd y'all meet?
At Starstruck Studios, the green building, Emerald. It was the Emerald building that Reba McEntire owned. I was auditioning for a record deal, and she worked at the label that I was
she saw
singing
talent
for
right away.
Shoot, man. I saw like this gorgeous woman, and I was like, she was sitting there with all the suits and ties, like Tim DuBois and Tony Brown. And
I used to intern there at Universal South.
Universal South.
Actually, you were an artist on the label.
Yes. So you probably know my wife, Emily West.
Well,
she worked
back in
for
the day. Yeah.
Susan Levy and Van Fletcher.
Yeah, I love Van. He's like the best.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's the day I met her. So every time.
So you got the deal though, because you were on Universal South.
Yeah, I got a deal. Every other label had said no in Christian music, and then a country label signed me.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I write country songs for other country artists, but I don't.
I used to package up your CDs all the time, actually.
That's crazy. Are you serious?
Yes. I'm just now remembering this as you're saying Universal South because there's like 3 artists. There's you, Pat Green. Yeah. I don't remember the other one, but I remember
it was Joe Nichols at the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then
as an intern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then do you remember they were doing a Glenn Campbell hymns record? Were you there that time?
Yeah.
But he got like a DUI the night before the record was supposed to come out.
It's always a problem.
And they were like, I was like, no, this is when you need to put out Amazing Grace.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
But they shelved it. But yeah, so that's every time I drive down Music Row, I remember meeting her. We met and were married within a year. I proposed to her after dating for 3 months.
You knew.
Which like now, if that was my daughter,
you would probably be very against that. And she said yes.
She said yes.
You knew.
Way out of my league. She's the best.
Well, that's when you got to lock it down.
I knew it right away.
Mm-hmm.
I suffered a really severe injury to my arm like shortly after we started dating, and I landed in intensive care at Bandy.
What happened?
It's a long story, I fell through a window. I was trying to open a window at my little apartment in Green Hills, and I did some very serious damage to my veins. And so we had just started dating, and she was there for me. Like, I couldn't tie my shoes for months. Like, I had hundreds of stitches in my arm. This was very bad, and there were complications with the surgery, and she stayed with me. And like, I just knew, like, she was tying my shoes for me. Like, she would, and so like when you experience like a trial early on in your relationship, like, you get close really fast. And so we did, you know, and I just knew it. I was like, and she told me years later, she's like, I had a moment where I was sitting outside of your hospital room at night, and I was crying, and I was thinking, this is your time to leave. Like, because if this guy loses his dream, because they weren't sure I was going to be able to play the guitar or anything like that. Like, people who lose their dream are not very happy people. She thought this, and she's like, do I go, or like, do I walk through this with him? And she's like, I'm staying. And like she had that conversation with herself outside of my hospital room. Meanwhile, I remember being in a hospital gown, all doped up on medicine. But while she was at work, I would make my mom like help me shave because I knew she was going to come back and visit me later, and I didn't want to look terrible. And so I just knew quickly that she was the one. So very blessed.